All right, y'all, welcome back to another episode of Unframe of Mind show. I have a guest coming back on again. We had some, let's say, technical difficulties last time when my computer decided to freeze up. And so we decided to take another swing at it, and we'll talk about something different this time so we don't bore you because, you know, that's already out there. You got it. It's in your mailbox. At any rate, I'd like to welcome the managing editor at Liberty Works, Miss Nicola Wright, back to the show. How are you doing, Miss Nicola?
Hi, Daniel. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to actually, you know, having a conversation where I'm not battling a computer the whole time. That would be ideal, to say the least. At any rate, no, I wanted to have you back on today. I know there was a big event rally that went on down there in Melbourne. In your neck of the woods, and I seen you were posting some things about it, where Stefan Molyneux and Lauren Southern came to visit. Specifically, I wanted to talk about this $68,000 bill that the Victoria Police were trying to put on Lauren Southern just to be able to speak as a security fee. I didn't know. I figured you had somebody down there because I seen a picture with Liberty Works on the badge, so I knew somebody was down there from your organization. I was just curious if you could tell me a little more about that event and kind of what went on around that.
Right. Well, first of all, it's on the other side of the country from where I am. But Melbourne is it's our most socialist state in Australia. So there's a big sort of Antifa presence in Melbourne. So of all the cities that Molyneux and Southern were visiting, Melbourne was going to be the one where they were going to get the most hassle. But I think the most crazy thing, as you mentioned, is that the Victorian Police have charged, well, they haven't charged Lauren, they've charged the event organisers $68,000 for protection, which is basically double dipping. Because we already pay our taxes for our police service. And that's what they're there to do, to protect Australian citizens.
So they're supposed to be there to protect you guys anyway. That's what you guys are paying your taxes for. And yet here they are going, well, we're going to need a little bit more money because we can't do our jobs without, you know, a little extra scratch in the palm.
And the justification is blaming the victim for inciting the behaviour of the protesters. So there's a lot of commentary around the place saying that, you know, if Lauren Southern wasn't so provocative and if she wasn't, you know, promoting violent policies around immigration, then these people wouldn't have to protest, which is absolutely crazy, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, if you weren't wearing that skirt around town, you wouldn't get raped, right? Is that kind of the same logic?
Blaming.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
So it kind of amounts to extortion, basically.
Yeah, I was looking at some stuff, and it was talking about how this is basically incentivizing protesters to come in and disrupt events. It's like,
of course,
we see that our us being rambunctious and causing all sorts of chaos is working. It's causing additional fees, which speakers may not be able to pay for, and so we'll just do more of that.
So let's do it next time. It's craziness. So someone up the top of the chain there is making a really bad decision on this one.
Oh, wow. And you guys had a correspondent down there attending the event, is that correct?
A friend of mine, yes, but not a Liberty Works person as far as I'm aware.
Oh, okay. I just saw somebody with a Liberty Works badge next to our friend Dia.
Oh, awesome.
She went posting all the pictures because she actually attended the event.
I was going to say, was Dia there, was she?
Yes. I was very jealous of that. I was like, man, that's, she sent me pictures with her and Molyneux and her and Southern together. I was
yes. And I've seen a few of those.
Have the best smiles. It's great. It's great. As far as I haven't heard any major stories come out of it other than that. I mean, I don't think there was any additional rioting or anything like that. It seems like everything was.
No. So there was another event in Perth here where I am, which I didn't go to. And so they had orderly protests out the front, which I'm completely fine with because, you know, we live in a free society, and if people don't agree with those guys and they want to come and protest and they stand within their zone and they hold their placards, and fine.
Right.
It's when they try and block people from entering and use violence and try to knock buses over. And the other thing they do is gang up and put 1-star reviews on businesses that have anything to do with it. So the Melbourne event hosts, I can't remember the name of the venue, but they've hopped onto Facebook and given them a whole bunch of 1-star reviews. And the same with the bus company that transported, because they had to keep the venue secret there. So they've transported the guests from a meeting place in buses to the location, and they've been giving that bus company bad reviews as well.
Heck,
so it's
kind of hard to get those reviews. It's kind of hard to get those reviews to begin with anyway. I mean, when you sit there and look at reviews, the average amount of reviews, it's usually not a whole terribly lot. But if you get a whole mob, a global mob to start giving reviews, that's definitely going to have an impact for sure. Yeah.
So as far as free speech goes, so there seems to be kind of two thoughts about free speech. You have people who only see free speech as government censorship, and it's a very limited view. And then the other view, and that's the one I hold, is almost like it's just the principle of free speech, which is that you allow other people to speak even if you don't agree with them, and you don't do anything to actually come between the speaker and the audience. So although these guys, I suppose, if they're not damaging property, they're still working within the law, and they're still working within the law when they give 1-star reviews on Facebook. But it's still breaking the principle or violating the principle of free speech. So these people don't care about free speech at all. And I think we've always got to speak up against that.
So are you more of a free speech absolutist in terms of just, let the bad ideas out and we'll just take care of them as they come, that kind of thing?
Absolutely.
Man, I think we're definitely...
And I'd even go so far as to being against defamation as well, which... It's a bit of an absolutist position as well.
Wait, say that one more time. Against defamation?
Defamation laws.
Oh, the laws. Okay. I thought you were saying against defamation, period. Defamation laws.
No.
A little different.
The laws. So I think the laws create a situation where only the rich can afford to protect their reputations. It's counterproductive.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I was just listening to a podcast or something. They were mentioning something about that where... in order to bring a lawsuit to a major news corporation, it would run you around $1.5 million just to bring the lawsuit to be looked at. That's insane. Nobody has $1.5 million to say, hey, they're defaming me. This is not cool. And then that gives the incentive to the publishing companies or the news networks to say, well, I guess as long as, the person we're trying to defame doesn't have $1.5 million sitting around, we're good to go.
And if the law's there and you don't do anything about it, then it's almost like you're admitting that what they've said about you is true. So if the laws didn't exist at all, you would take with a pinch of salt any claims made about any person, because you know that anyone can say anything. So unless you see evidence, you wouldn't believe it. But as things stand now, because it's against the law to defame somebody, if the victim doesn't take action, then it's almost like they're admitting that it's true. And if you can't afford to, then you're stuck, aren't you?
That's no good. That's no good at all. Holy crap. No. It is funny. I think that's kind of where my anarchist views come into play. It's like, well, we don't need all these little tedious laws that are really designed just to let the big players maintain their position of power. It's like these guys know what they're doing. They're the ones that are lobbying the government, lobbying the politicians to actually have these things passed. Like, it's a losing game for us normal folk out here that are just trying to, make ends meet. And God forbid if we had something that we wanted to say that was, against the narrative, or if we had some dissenting opinion, like, good luck trying to get it out there. And then if you do, it's very easy for them to bring you down. It's a damn
it just
shame.
Falls into the category of victimless crimes again, doesn't it? Because if someone says something bad about you, you're not really actually a victim. You don't own your reputation. You don't own what someone else thinks about you. So there's no violence and there's no property damage or theft. So that really there's no victim.
So it sounds like you're just kind of straight up libertarian. Is that fair assessment, or where would you kind of place yourself at?
I probably call myself a conservative libertarian, and that I have conservative values myself.
I got you.
But I wouldn't want to force them onto other people.
No, that makes
unless there's a victim.
Unless there's a victim, that's right. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're actually sitting about 67 degrees Celsius right now. Just a little update for you. I think we're doing okay.
We're not going to blow our tops.
I don't know. We'll find out what happens. Anyway. No, I wanted to ask you if you heard about this story where these two employees were, I guess the store had already closed, and a black woman had come into the store about 6 minutes or so after the store had closed, and they said, "Well, I'm sorry, we're closed. We're not serving anybody right now." Well, this lady decides to go outside and start hopping on social media, Facebook Live, talking all sorts of crap, talking about these people are being racist against me and everything else. And it's all of a sudden become a big media shitstorm. And as a result, I think it was in Seattle, if I remember right. Pretty. If you don't know anything about Seattle, it's pretty high liberal type territory. You know, everybody wants to out progressive the other one and wants to be more. I'm more progressive than you are, and that kind of thing. But what ended up happening is the two girls that were working there ended up getting fired, not for being racist, but because they should have served her. They should have served her. That was the core message here. And even though there was a couple white people that came in before this black lady after the store had closed, and they had also turned them away too. No, this was a racist thing. Clearly, I didn't know if you'd heard about that story or not. But
no, I haven't heard about that. But it sounds like the Starbucks story.
Yeah,
it's very similar.
Right.
So the first thing businesses have to do is start having a set and stop apologising for all this sort of stuff. And as soon as they do that, then these incidences are going to just drop off.
Yeah.
And the other thing, in my view, is that if you've got in your mind that the world's racist, then every interaction you have with people, you see it through that lens. So say if you and I went into a store and the storekeeper was really rude and hostile to us because they were having a bad day, you just think, well, that they're assholes and don't think too much more of it. But if you were black, for instance, and you had the mindset that everyone around you is racist, then that's how you interpret that sort of behaviour. And I think it's like looking through, goggles, and that's a filter that they see the world in.
Right. That's exactly how I was sitting there thinking about it too. Like almost the exact same thought came to mind when I heard the story. I'm like, wow, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. I mean, exactly, it's like, yeah. I view the world as everybody's racist. I'm oppressed. I'm a victim, and I'm looking for my payout, I guess. I don't know what she was looking for, but there's something going on here.
Attention.
Yeah, and she knew that she would get the attention, and now she's got results, and because of her being a dumbass, ended up getting two people fired over it. I mean,
that's the outrage, isn't it? And it comes down to the owner of that business being weak, and afraid.
Yeah. I think fear might have a lot to do with it. I'm sitting here trying to put myself in a position if I'm the store owner and I've just encountered this situation, the media is all pissed off about it, social media is buzzing about it. I know that people have a tendency to attack businesses with like the bad reviews, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you do? I can kind of understand his.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, I can totally understand where he's sitting at in this whole thing, and I'm not saying he did the right thing.
You can apologize in a certain way, and say, I'm really sorry that you had this experience, blah, 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 but our shop closes at this time, and that's just how it is. It's like parents with toddlers tantruming. You have to have a boundary and say, no, my shop closes now, I'm deal with it.
Yeah, total lack of any kind of balls, really, I think, on his part. Maybe he's thinking, oh, well, if I do what you suggested, just tell her, hey, I'm sorry, but we close. We don't serve customers past, 9 o'clock at night or whatever the case was. It's like, okay, that would require some balls, because at the same time, he's got that in the back of his mind that, well, I don't want to also be accused of being a racist, because as far as I can tell, ain't hardly statistically ain't hardly nobody a racist. Like it's just
That's right.
It's just not.
And the worst thing you can say is I'm not a racist, because as soon as you say that, then they think you're a racist. It's just crazy. You can't win.
Yeah,
but it's like the Vic Police thing. It's incentivizing bad behaviour. Every time something like this happens and you're grovelling apology and someone gets fired, then it just makes it bigger and worse next time.
And then I'm sitting there thinking about, okay, what happens farther down in the future? This lady's, she's now done this to these people, gotten them fired, got results. She's probably getting all sorts of pats on the back from social media. Oh, you go, girl! You stood up for the cause, or whatever whatever gets said about these things, and that makes her feel good. And it just acts as a signal to other people that, hey, guess what? Now we've got the ability to do this to other people because this is what's going to happen. There's a clear example of what can happen if I bitch about it, whether I'm really being, harmed in the process or anything like that. It's like, this is so frustrating. Like, I would love to live in Seattle because it's a beautiful place, but I do not want to touch the politics with a 10-foot pole around that area and try to run a business in that area. God forbid. It's insane.
Yeah, right.
Is this anything like what you're dealing with out in your area in Perth, or is this kind of like in real isolated little?
That's a bit of a country town mentality. Yeah, it hasn't touched us yet, but it will. It sounds a bit like Melbourne.
Not if you have anything to do with it, it won't.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. There any major news stories we wanted to touch on before we?
I wanted to talk to you about that Michelle Carter story.
Michelle Carter.
So she was convicted of involuntary manslaughter for encouraging her boyfriend to go through the suicide that he was planning. And she's gone inside for 15 months, and she's now appealing that decision, which I think is a real tough story because I think what she did was terrible. But
so
on the other hand,
she encouraged him to go through with his suicide that he was wanting to do.
Yeah. So he'd been talking about it, and she was saying you should really do it. If you want to do it, you should do it. And it got to the point that he was in the car with the exhaust fumes coming in, and he was saying, I might have changed my mind, I'm going to get out. And she was like, no, get back in, you really want to do this. And pretty abominable.
Oh, Jesus.
Behavior. And terrible.
No, I hadn't heard that particular story. That's terrible.
Oh, really? Mm-mm. Yeah, it's bad and sad.
No, I've heard a lot of stories, but not that one. Good Lord.
Yeah.
All I've been hearing this week is about. Go on.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I guess her family just, want some sort of revenge, and society wants some sort of revenge on her.
So would you let me ask you this? Would you? I'm sitting here trying to think about the morals and the principles behind this. Would you in a perfect world? I know we're current legal system notwithstanding, but would you consider that a victimless crime?
Well, I would, because I don't think killing yourself is violence.
I guess. Do you feel like she actually, yes, she suggested it and insisted that he do it, but is she really responsible for pulling the trigger eventually? I mean, I think
definitely not.
He's still
definitely
the one that. Not. So I'm almost wondering, should she actually?
The responsibility is on him, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm sitting there thinking. The ultimate responsibility would be on him. He's in a weakened emotional state, probably due to a number of other factors that she could have also played a part in as well. But then if we're going with that route, then we need to blame his society around him. We need to blame his friends. We need to blame his family, his parents. Like if we're going to blame everybody that had anything to do with his final decision to commit suicide, then it's not really fair to stop with the girlfriend in that case. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but it's kind of a shitty situation. I get that, but
I think it's a shitty situation, but I think it comes down to principle on whether you could be convicted for your words or not. So, if she's convicted for this, then that means that if he hadn't killed himself, the very same actions would not be a crime. But because he has killed himself, the same actions are a crime. So it depends on the agency of a third party or another person as to whether someone's committed a crime or not, which I think is pretty dangerous.
I gotcha. So let me change directions on you just slightly here. There was a video I had seen. It was like it wasn't the Dr. Phil show, but it was a production by him. Anyway, the basic thing was they brought in a whole bunch of people that of varying different political views and philosophical views and moral views and things like that. And they brought them all into a room. So I think it's probably 8 to 10 of them. And nobody knew each other, and they didn't know anything about the other one. And he started kind of asking these questions to get them to realize, oh, we're a not diabolic. What's the word I'm looking for? Not diametrically.
Oh yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, yes. Basically, he started asking them questions to show that they do have differing opinions, and then encourage them to start actually having conversations about it. Face to face conversations, and then after a while, they were being assertive and asking, their questions. Oh, so you think this and this and this, and they were trying to understand each other a little better, which was to be expected, but they were being pretty respectful. And then he divided them up into smaller groups, of the people that disagree with each other the absolute most, and just let them talk it out and get to know each other better and discuss their ideas back and forth instead of the shitstorm you have on social media. And he sat there and would he would just give them these questions, let them discuss it, and then after the whole thing was said and done, this was about an 8-minute little video I saw. They all came together, and he asked, what's some things you like about the other person, that kind of thing, and it was really cool just seeing how they were able to listen to these ideas. And he's like, oh, such and such is seems really open to new ideas and things. We had a really good conversation and things like that. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, those are the kind of conversations we used to have before the social media type environment we're now a part of. And I wanted to ask you if you think that maybe there's some way that we can facilitate something more akin to that, maybe via our channels, or if we can even have an in-studio thing, or if you think that would be something that would maybe start turning people's minds onto new ideas versus the way it's been going currently. I don't know if that sounds like a neat idea to you, or like if that's even something we could, because like right now you and I are having a conversation face to face, and I'm enjoying it. I hope you're enjoying it as well, and it's just it's nice being able to see the look on your face, the body language you have, the different things that you're saying, and the different ideas you're expressing. And I do that even when I'm disagreeing with people. But when you go to social media and there's this anonymity involved, it's like, wait a minute. Now we can all start being assholes to each other.
Yeah. It's definitely a phenomenon. And I'm not sure how much we can do about it. Because no matter how many face-to-face conversations that we have, we're still going to have that social media interaction behind the wall of our laptop screens. Yeah, I'm not sure what the answer to that is, except to just keep trying to have more conversations, I suppose. Because the way we talk to each other on Facebook is nothing like you would talk to somebody in real life. It's not how you talk to your family and friends about politics, is it?
Well,
but then again, maybe it's harder to express yourself face to face, and sometimes you don't stand up for your principles as much because you're wanting to actually relate and connect to the other person so much that you let some things slide.
Well, that is an excellent point. It is more difficult, more challenging to have these conversations face to face. I think we need to get past that, grow some balls a little bit and actually do that. But what you said about having the social media aspect to this, and the fact, how you don't talk to people on social media the way you talk to your family, and arguably, I do I do tend to talk to people on social media, but I'm probably one of very, very few people that do that.
When I say you, I mean generic you, people in general.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's just as a general principle, I try to treat that as if I am talking to them in real life, as if they knew everything about me. Or, as if they could dox me and would find out everything about me if they want. And you're like, I don't want to. I've never been reported on Facebook, even though I have strong opinions. I don't know if.
I think I try to do the same thing. and just keep it civil and keep it. I mean, it doesn't always have to be friendly, but you can respect your opponent.
Yeah, respectful is the key.
Yeah.
Key word there. Matter of fact, I know I've said this time and time again, but the only way you're ever going to get blocked by me is by being disrespectful. Like, that's it. Yeah. Like, I will, if you have a different opinion, no matter how crazy that opinion is, I'm not going to block you, because there's a chance we can still have a conversation. I can talk you out of it, or maybe I can learn something from you and you could talk me out of, but disrespect is a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Unproductive trolling is, because you're never going to convince this other person. Have you read The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt?
I have not.
Oh, that's worth reading, because that comes down to exactly what we're talking about.
It's called The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt?
The Righteous Mind, yep.
Mm-hmm.
I can send you a link after this.
All right.
He talks about how, we have a gut reaction to something, and then we use our rational mind to justify it. And that's why when you have two politically opposite opinions clashing, even if you use facts and rationality, you're unlikely to convince the other person, because they're operating on a completely different moral kind of framework.
Yeah,
so
plus
enlightening.
Plus they're operating through emotions at that particular moment.
Yeah, and we actually we all do it. So that helps, because then you can see where someone's coming from. And they think what you're saying is like horrific because it clashes with their moral framework. And so it's challenging. So then you can see why they're getting triggered, because what you're saying is challenging, and vice versa.
Oh, yeah. Trigger's not even the word for it. Thankfully, there is a number of people that seem to be real open to at least hearing, the people that freak out and go nuts. I know there seems to be this huge move of everybody's just insane on the internet. And it's like, that there's a few people, a vocal minority for sure. For the most part,
ones to ignore,
Yeah.
You can't engage with everybody.
Yeah, for the most part, I have really good interaction with people, and even if it's just a cordial, quick discussion back and forth, and then we're like agree to disagree, and then we go on about our business. Yeah. That seems to be the majority of the conversations that I have, but it is fun trying to interact with some of these people, and you could tell they're like on the verge of being super disrespectful, and they're just not quite.
Yeah,
it's like, all right, come on, let's see how we can lure you into a state of straight disrespect. And once you've done that, you've done lost the argument for sure.
Yeah. There's that other thing that Jordan Peterson says as well, that when you're listening to someone, remember that they might know something that you don't know.
That seems like an excellent point to wrap up on. That is fantastic. I think that's something we can all learn to apply to our lives and actually use. It doesn't hurt to sit around and actually listen to people. You don't necessarily like every time you have every time you have an interaction, you don't necessarily have to jump in and make yourself heard every single time. Yeah. That's the beauty of the Socratic reasoning. You can just sit in the questioning, the asking them, the curiosity aspect of it. That's what's missing.
That's right. Or entertain a new thought for a little while without dismissing it.
Right. Oh, that curiosity element. Oh, I wish more people were curious. that would definitely help a lot. All right, Miss Nicola Wright, I sure appreciate you coming onto the show today. I'll have your links in the description down below. If anybody wants to contact her, please do so. She's an awesome, amazing person, and she's great to talk to. Very eloquent, and I look forward to having you back on the show again sometime.
Thank you, Daniel.
All right.
Thanks for having me.